XRP utility across the ledger is increasing from RLUSD adoption to on-chain activity, but price hasn't followed. So the real question today is simple. Should we be worried? In this stream, we'll break down why utility and price actually don't move together and how liquidity demand actually drives the price and what rising on-chain activity really means at this stage. We'll look at the chart, the recent ETF inflows, the utility news, and other news that's come out. And then I'll open it up to the live chat. The chat is the lifeblood of the stream, so make sure that you engage if you're coming in. Let's go ahead and hop into it. We'll start with the price chart. Right now, XRP is coming in. It's sitting at about $1.87. We lost our sell-off yesterday. We came all the way down, or excuse me, we lost our buy up yesterday. We got all the way up to 91, and then we came all the way back down to 184, and now we're sitting at about 187. Again, we're holding above EMA. This is a positive trend. This is good. However, we have to look at RSI. RSI came up and got close to overbought, except the price is lower than the last time it was there. This is not a good sign. So I do expect this to fall back lower. Again, we're still holding our $1.75 level, but again, price is for context. We're not here for what's happening today, tomorrow, a week from now. We're here for the long view. What's going to happen a year from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now. But we do want to use this as context. So let's go ahead and hop into what's actually happening in the overall broader market right now. Currently, everything is chopping. It's been chopping since December. And truthfully, nothing's really happened since after Thanksgiving. We had our run up with the ETFs. Everyone thought there was going to be a big pump, and then everything sold off pretty much immediately after. And we've been in a struggling, choppy, sideways price market ever since. So, I mean, the entire market's down today. It's still chopping. For the week, everything's up a little bit. Zcash is still recovering extremely well from its 100% sell-off it had. But again, year to date, everything is doing horribly except for Zcash. So if you had Zcash in at the beginning of the year, you're rocking it right now. But as it stands right now, not a whole lot going on in the overall crypto market as far as price goes. Let's cover our ETFs though, shall we? We didn't have any action yesterday. Nothing changed from the previous time we refreshed it. So right now, Franklin Templeton, I see you all coming in the chat. I appreciate every single one of you. Keep it going. I'm going to do the live chat right after I get done all the information, as I always do for you all. So let's take a look at ETFs. Right now, Franklin Templeton, well, yesterday, Franklin Templeton had 111 million. Currently, they have, as we refresh, currently now up to 113 million. So 2 million more added by Franklin Templeton. Grayscale was at 121 million. Let's see what they're at right now. They're still at 121 million. So no change for Grayscale. Canary Capital was at 175 million. Remember, they were the first and only ETF to actually lose XRP from their fund. They lost $1 million and they haven't recovered it since then. They lost $1 million. Was it Friday last week? They pulled $1 million out. So there's still no change for them. Bitwise now sitting at 122 last we checked, and they're currently now at 125. So 3 million added by Bitwise. And then 21 shares who likes to move in big numbers was at 135, and they're currently at 135. So no change for them. So we added another 5 million to the ETFs. Always a good thing. And let's see here. Nothing new on Twitter that I saw, but let's hop into what's actually going into utility, right? I wanted to talk about utility because this is important. This is what we're actually focusing on and what we've been taking a look at for the entirety of the last month. And now we're finally starting to get some results. XRP Ledger reaches 567 million in tokenized real world asset. That's up 2,200% in 2025. Now think about it. Tokenization is just now getting started as we get more things going on with, BlackRock and the DTCC tokenizing the stock market. Tokenization is going to only accelerate, and we've already got a 2,200% increase. Now, most of that is coming from RLUSD. Over half of it is coming from RLUSD, but let's dive into what's actually in here. It says the XRP Ledger sees a 2,200% increase in tokenized real world asset value, surpassing 500 million in 2025, driven by RLUSD and new financial products. The value of tokenized real world assets on the XRP ledger has surged 2,200% in 2025, with total real world asset valuing surpassing 500 million. The increase comes as tokenized real world assets have gained traction across the crypto industry, driven by prominent figures like BlackRock CEO Larry Fink, SEC Chair Paul Atkins. Data from the RWA.xyz, whatever that is, reveals impressive growth on XRP network, highlighting key milestones and contributions from new products like RLUSD and OpenEden's T-bill vault. XRP Ledger sees explosive growth in real world blah, blah, blah. I hate how they repeat themselves like 60 times. But there was a part, I'm trying to find it here. As the year progressed, XRPL saw this growth, blah, blah, blah. There was a part where it said that XRPL had a growth over the last 2 months in real world assets of 72 million, while Ethereum and Solana saw outflows of real world assets or something like that. Here it was. While XRP Ledger has seen impressive growth, it still lags behind blockchain in terms of total real world asset value. Excluding stablecoins, the XRPL holds 213 million in distributed RWA value, making it the 9th largest network in this category. Networks like Ethereum, BNB Chain, and Solana still dominate the RWA market, but the XRP Ledger is steadily gaining ground. Recent data shows that XRPL has attracted 72 million in new RWA value over the past 2 months. This is in sharp contrast to Ethereum and Polygon, which have seen decreases of 84 million and 629 million respectively in the same period. So real world assets are moving on the XRP Ledger, again, kind of like ETFs, no outflows, only inflows of real world assets onto the XRP Ledger, while things like Ethereum and Polygon are losing value on their ledger. This is very bullish for XRP. This is real world utility happening in time, in real time. This is what we are here for. And on top of that, while all of this is happening, XRP ETFs defy the market turbulence with a record of 29 days of consecutive inflows. So we haven't had any outflows. Remember, we had that one day we were a little curious on? We have not had any outflows yet into ETFs. So even amidst this terrible bear market, institutions are still all in on buying XRP. It has not stopped. The inflows continue. So what does that tell you? We have on-chain data turning on. We talk about the account set all the time. I'll bring it back up for you. Everyone who is an XRP holder should have XRP Scam bookmarked. This is going to show you what's happening in real on-chain activity. You can see payments, you can see transaction types, all of those things, number of payments from one account to another. You can see if it's going up or down. You can see if it's progressing steadily. Now, what we've been focusing on is the account set transactions as of late with the ETFs and the new utility things that we're hearing about. You go and look at the account set transactions. There's been more account set transactions in the last 2 months than there has been in the entire history of the ledger. That coincides perfectly with all of this utility news that we've been hearing about. Tokenized assets, ETFs, right? Different accounts. All of these things are institutional. That kind of account set activity is not retail based, not by that much. So we're having all this positive utility news. RLUSD is doing great. It says RLUSD's growth continues to accelerate across the Ripple ecosystem. An important note, when RLUSD first came out, it was being deployed on Ethereum. Since about 5 or 6 months ago, probably about 5 months ago, 99% of RLUSD that's being created is going on the XRP ledger. Now, we do have things like Wormhole, where we can start working with other networks with RLUSD so it can move to things like Solana or Hyperliquid or whatever the case may be. They are not stopping with the XRPL. Interoperability and integration is going to be massive moving forward in this space. But RLUSD's growth continues to accelerate across the Ripple ecosystem. The stablecoin is now a major part of the company's payments and settlement offerings, yet XRP price action tells a different story, as many expected XRP to rise alongside RLUSD. However, that move has not happened, and this gap raises fresh questions about how Ripple products connect to XRP value. And this is an important distinction that a lot of people need to understand. I mentioned many times that I am an XRP supporter, I am an XRP holder, but I want everyone to have a real understanding of what our risks are. That being said, I made it almost an entire half a stream. RLUSD launched in late 2024 as Ripple's USD-backed stablecoin. Adoption moved fast, and in a year, the stablecoin crossed 1.3 billion in market cap and ranks amongst the top 5 stablecoins. So in 1 year, they rank amongst the top 5 stablecoins. Not even a full year, to be honest with you. RLSD runs on the XRP Ledger and offers fast settlement and low fees and transfers settling in seconds. Ripple designed RLUSD for real use, and stablecoin supports treasury flows, cross-border payments, and collateral use. RLUSD growth shows a stability trade-off. Banks prefer stability. This is where things start getting wonky. This is where I think there's a lot of miseducation, okay? It says banks prefer stability. This is because volatility creates risk during settlement, and XRP once served as a bridge asset for on-demand liquidity. However, that role came with price swings from the cryptocurrency itself. A 2% swing on a $100 million transfer equals a $2 million change, and treasuries avoided that risk by pivoting to RLUSD instead. This is where we need clarity, and this is where there's an entirely large misunderstanding with XRP. So XRP, they just mentioned it multiple times, things settle in seconds. There's not going to be a 2% swing on XRP in a matter of 3 to 5 seconds that it takes for the transaction to happen. However, that being said, the higher the price of XRP, right, the more stable the price becomes as those transactions are hovering the value. So it's just a misunderstanding. I don't want to say it's just a misunderstanding with XRP, but this is the common misconception that a lot of people have with XRP. We do need it to have a more stable price, but that doesn't mean it has to be a stable coin. And that comes with clarity. That comes with, more usage and more liquidity in the market. So this is something to definitely keep in touch, or to keep mind of. And make sure you guys are engaging in the chat. I am going to come back to it as soon as I get through all of this. And I don't have it pulled up here, but I wanted to take a minute and touch briefly on what's going on with silver. So silver just crashed back yesterday. I mean, it brought a whole back with it. There's a period of FOMO going right now with silver. I've seen more videos and shorts on silver than I have seen in a very, very long time. Just be careful, do your research, be careful about buying in at the high end of things. A lot of people jumped into silver because they thought it was going to go to $100 the other day, and then it crashed back over 10%. And again, people are crying. What happened? What happened? What happened? Do your research. By the time it's spiking, you've already missed the ride usually. When it's going down and when fear and blood are in the streets, that is typically the time to hop in, and that means you're getting ahead of it. Really, dollar cost averaging is the best way in and out, whichever way you go. But I am not a financial advisor. None of this is financial advice. You need to do your own research, okay? But I'm just here to try and, give you the information. That is everything I had prepared. I'm going to go ahead and hop into the chat. Okay. So I did everything a little bit differently. Normally I give the stream a few minutes to warm up. I was just trying it a little bit different this time, but I enjoy speaking with every single person in the chat. I answer every question, speak to every comment, and my regulars are always in here in droves, and I appreciate every single one of them. If someone can let me know how many people are in the stream, I'm going to go ahead and hop into what's going on in the chat. Crypto Roger was first in. He said hello. Raul hopped in second, told me there were already 11 people in the stream, so that's awesome. Let's see here. That guy Record said hello, so we got someone else in here. I haven't seen that name, so welcome. Raul said hello to everyone else. Crypto Roger says, I can't help but feel bad for Claver. He losing the $1 million bet. I don't feel bad. Number one, he made a bet. He's got to put his money where his mouth is. I'd like to see how that all goes down. But number two, he made plenty more money than that $1 million he lost. just my opinion. Steven said, have you seen the BG123 latest riddle? I have not, but after you mentioned it, I did take a look at it and I did give it a follow. So I'll take, I can take a look right now. Let's see if I can find it and we'll take a look at it together. Oh gosh, what was his name? I thought I followed it. Let's see if I can search it. BG, I'm just going to say something see if I can find it just by doing BG123 if that comes up with anything. Yeah, there he is. BG123 collection. Let me see if I can find his latest. Oh, that's not him. I'll have to find it again. I lost it. I can't find the exact person. Let's take a look. Sorry, Steven. I'll take a look at it when we get done, though. You were telling me, okay, I'll take a look at it when we get done, once I get through everything in here. William and Bonnie said, good afternoon, XRP Army. William, glad you can make it. Haven't seen you in a couple streams. Glad you could stop in. King Kong said, Jake standing by his bet. What does he know? I don't know. I mean, we got 2 days. And like I said from the beginning, I would love to be wrong. William and Bonnie said, Jake Claver says a lot of stuff. I knew his price predictions weren't going to happen this year. It would be nice, though. Yeah, that's one of those things. I mean, I'm here for the long haul. Hopefully you guys are here for the long haul, right? What the price is going to be a year from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now. But if I'm wrong and it gets to those prices sooner, I'm not going to complain about it. Bill Crawford, do you think XRP will be repriced and explode January 1st? Bought XXRP 2 times leveraged. I don't know why it would. I don't know what's the thinking on that, Bill. What's the cause of it? What's the catalyst? What's going to cause it to reprice on January 1st? I do think we're going to see some buying, right there. I think there's been a lot of strategic selling these last couple weeks of the year as people prepare for taxes. So I do think people will be re-entering positions at the beginning of next year, but I don't know about enough to, reprice XRP. But I do expect it to start moving in the other direction once the year starts. Again, not financial advice, but I do believe that. William and Bonnie said, but XRP has been making moves. I've just been buying as much as I can, adding it to my retirement portfolio. Yeah, I mean, it's been making moves. It's like the infrastructure is being built out. Again, we need value to come onto the ledger, and that's what we're seeing with RLUSD. That's going to create pairs. And we talked about, when we were talking about RLUSD and we were talking about creating the pairs, one of the things I personally believe is we're going to start seeing a real appreciation in price once we start seeing things like RL yen, RL euro, like an RL pound, whatever they have in Brazil, whatever they have in Singapore. Once we start seeing these other Ripple currencies on the XRP ledger, that way they can work it as an FX, like an FX DEX almost, and use XRP at the center for liquidity. Again, that's going to take time. That's going to take clarity. We haven't even seen an RL currency for another country. I think we might see an RL yen first. I think that'll be the next one we might see. But again, that's my opinion, not financial advice. And I think, again, these things take time. Crypto Roger said King Kong won nothing, I'm sure. Oh, I see here. So King Kong asked, what does Jake Claver know, because he's standing by his bet, and Crypto Roger saying nothing. You should have been buying at 22 cents. I wish I was buying at 22 cents. Actually, I was at one point. The earliest I got in on XRP was at 18 cents, and that was back in 2019, I think. But I remember the first time I bought it, it was at 18 cents. Silver, you also said silver's back up $6. And that you bought 3,000 ounces of silver at $12. There you go. No, I'm not saying silver is a bad investment. I hold silver as well. I mean, I've been buying a little bit of silver here and there for years and years and years, just like gold. It's a part of the portfolio, because I am of the debasement trade, right? I like deflationary assets. For the longest time, I was buying gold, silver, Bitcoin, XRP, and what else was I buying? Platinum. I was buying all of those. And I cycled out of Bitcoin once I started seeing the volume bubble. It made me fearful that Bitcoin may decouple. And shortly after I started getting out of Bitcoin, that's when we had October 10th. I was about halfway out when that happened. I wish I would have pulled the trigger a little sooner on cycling out of Bitcoin. I would have had, more to buy XRP at low prices. But yeah, no, nothing wrong with silver. I just don't agree with buying it at the top. And right now, I think we're at a top. Again, just my opinion. William said we had 19 in the stream. Okay. It's a slower stream. Tuesdays are typically a little bit slower, but that's okay. Uh, Resident asks, since the Clarity Act is for US regulations, what is keeping XRP from being adopted in other countries? Nothing is keeping XRP from being adopted in other countries, but you have to remember the US economy runs the world economy. Everything runs on the US dollar. So if the US doesn't have clarity and the US isn't willing to work it doesn't matter. If that makes any kind of sense. We need legal clarity in the US. The only thing that's really gonna, bump that up any faster is if another country were to adopt it as a currency. And I don't see that happening. It's possible, but I don't see it happening. So that's why we still need clarity, because other than that, the only thing we have from the US government is that it's deemed not to be a security. That's it. So hopefully that answers your question there, resident. Race fan said hello to everyone, just here for a few laps. So he's just stopping in for a second. William Bonnie said, do you think gold price will crash soon? It's definitely inflated price, right? That's so hard to predict, because here's why I'm not sure it'll necessarily crash. I don't know if it'll continue to surge, but the reason there's a surge is because everyone's anticipating more liquidity coming into the market, right? Quantitative tightening has ended. They've started like stealth quantitative easing, in the sense that they're buying short-term T-bills and injecting little bits of liquidity into the market here and there as needed to prevent any kind of issue with basically private credit and repo markets. So it's not full-blown quantitative easing, but they are injecting a little bit of liquidity here and there. So between that, if we do switch to quantitative easing, which with Trump, I would expect to happen, and we're getting a new Fed chair in May, that's supposed to be announced in January. So with all of that additional liquidity coming in, that's going to, again, cause inflation. Because what happened was in 2020, we had all of that printing, right, with everything with COVID, and then we felt the inflation, right? The inflation we felt the last 2 years or so, 2.5 years, was all because of all that printing and quantitative easing that was done during COVID. We're about to start that again. We're about to turn those printers back on and probably start quantitative easing again if Trump has his way. So again, all assets will rise with that, and then we'll have inflation a few years later, and the cycle repeats. So I don't know if it'll crash if they keep pumping money in. That's the thing. I mean, if they stop pumping money in, our entire economy will crash right now right now the stock market's up, but it's all propped up on debt from the AI bubble. Like the entire S&P 500 is propped up on the AI stocks, and those are completely propped up off of debt investment into those stocks of what they will be in the future. So it's a scary time if that bubble busts, but I think they're going to keep pumping money in right now, which if they keep pumping money in, that means gold and silver will either stay where they are or climb higher. So I do think it's an inflated price, but I think that's an inflated price because that's what we see first when printing starts. My opinion, not financial advice. Let's see here. Crypto Roger said silver's momentum is so strong, I think we'll hit 100 soon. I mean, again, one of those things I would love to be wrong, but I'm not betting on it because, like I said, that's too much. Like, it's not like people are buying and holding silver right now. That's all futures based, derivatives based. There's leverage involved. They're betting on it just like they do the crypto market. So, I mean, right now, I've never heard so many people talk about silver over the last 2 months than I have in my entire life. It makes me nervous. That's all. And I just want to communicate that all to you because I do think there's quite a bit of FOMO, and it creates opportunity for a large pullback, especially when something as stable as silver moves in such a large spread. Again, my opinion, not financial advice. I am not a financial advisor. This is for entertainment, educational purposes only. I am working on my Series 65 to become a licensed financial advisor, but not yet. Let's see here. Todd said, I like that there are 589 lights in the 2026 New Year's Eve sign in Times Square. I do think that's pretty cool. They've been dropping the 589 hints in a lot of different places. I mean, hey, if the ball drops on New Year's and I turn on my phone and XRP's $589, I'll be running downstairs. You guys might see me intoxicated in one form or another, but I will be on a stream hopping up and down cheering with you all. I promise you that will be a party, to say the very least. William said, has anyone heard anything else about US Strategic Crypto Reserve? No, not yet. I have not seen anything else. The last thing I saw on a US Strategic Crypto Reserve was that Trump said he wanted to have one, and the last we heard, it was only going to be from confiscated cryptocurrency, not that they were going to buy anymore. Since then, there hasn't been an announcement that they were going to officially buy anything. There's been there was talks a few months ago, but it's resurfacing now because there's no news. So a lot of people are bringing it back up, essentially. In my opinion, I don't have proof of that, but that's my thoughts. Let's see here. What's your thoughts on hash? Hash. I don't know what you're referring to. Are you referring to H-bar, or are you referring to hash, the stuff you smoke? I'm not really sure what you're asking there, Bill. Raul, 2026 is going to be the year starting in February, you think? I do think we're going to see some appreciation in 2026. I don't think we're going to see our full-blown appreciation in 2026. But I think in 2026, it's going to raise some eyebrows and people are going to be like, oh, crap. I think 2026 might kick off the FOMO if there is any. Because it's hard to predict when things are going to happen, obviously, because we don't know what legislation is going to be passed when, and what role XRP is actually going to fill, because we don't have that information yet, and we won't have it until the Clarity Act. But with the innovation exemption that's being rumored to be coming from the SEC, the SEC said they were going to do it in January. So with the innovation exemption, and then with Clarity, there's been multiple sources saying that the Clarity Act's almost done and it's going to Trump, and they're saying we're going to have clarity in January. Worst, end of Q1. So by the end of Q1, we're going to know what XRP is, considered by the government anyway. So by the end of Q1, we'll know what XRP is considered from the government. We'll have more ETFs live. We'll have a stabilized inflow from the ETFs, because again, 29 consecutive days of ETF inflows. So by the time we get to all of that point, I don't know what's going to stop it once it gets clarity. Honestly, we'll have to see. Again, I'm waiting for RL Yen and RL Euro. I think that's really going to kick off something as well. DS Wager. To be honest, it was supposed to be price appreciation. They up the share price, but not share price. They cheat in the game. It's close to $40. I don't know what you're talking about. If you're referring to an ETF price versus XRP price, remember the ETFs are shares, and each share holds a certain amount of XRP, and each ETF issuer determines that in advance. So each one is different. That's why you'll see different prices with different ETF shares. So I'm not exactly sure what you're talking about. I can't understand the chat. It's not the words don't make sense. Crypto Roger says, I prefer another myself. I think he meant H-bar, not smoking mine. Okay, so yeah, H-bar. I love H-bar. I think H-bar is great. Anything that's involved in tokenization, and H-bar is heavily involved in tokenization. They have real world partnerships that they're already working on. The fact that they're down almost, 60 or 70% is horrible this year. Yeah, they're down 60% this year. That's right now the things I'm trying to sack the most of is XRP, HBAR, and Chainlink. I think that is the strongest room for appreciation, my opinion, not financial advice. Hash crypto, not HBAR. I'll have to look into Hash Crypto. I don't know anything about it. Again, I try to stay away from the meme stuff. I try to look at things that have real world use case, utility, adoption, partnerships. I mean, but if you're gonna do the meme stuff, that's cool. I'll be honest. I bought about $500 worth a while back of a couple pre-sales that are supposed to be coming to light here in the near future. So we'll see how that goes. But those are literally like gambling. Those are like slot machines. But if I put in $300 and get 100,000, 100,000 tokens of whatever, and it goes up to 50 cents, then I just made a ton of money. You know what I'm saying? So those are the risks we take. That's kind of how I got into XRP at the beginning, to tell you the truth. And then as more I learned about it, I got more and more and more of it. But I started with it at 19 cents. So I'll look into it. I'll take a look at it for you, Bill. Zeta said hello. Welcome back to the stream, Zeta. Glad you can make it in here today. Alan Martin says Hash is a crypto that can be purchased off of the DEX. Jake Claver holds some of it, sees it as a possible long-term play. I'll have to look into it. Again, I usually wait till there's a little more. What's the word? Little more behind it before I hop into it. If not, I'll try to grab like a pre-sale of something that I think might be interesting, because I think once you've got to the point where you can buy it for 3 or 4 cents, right? Or whatever the case may be, a lot of the pre-sale people are dumping on that group of people while we're figuring out if it's going to have real use case or not. So that in-between area is kind of scary. If I'm going to take that chance, I like to try it on a pre-sale so I can be one of the people dumping if I decide to. You know what I'm saying? Again, just me, my opinion. Stephen Haynes says 589 XRP equals me telling my boss to shove it. Well, if I didn't get to tell my boss to shove it, I mean, I honestly probably wouldn't, but I understand the sentiment. Financial freedom is a very, very powerful thing. And I think the reason a lot of the people who watch me, the target audience, if you will, I have found is a bunch of people who are very similar to me, 35 to 55 years old, people who've worked their butts off for half their life, and they're starting to see that retirement is still a long ways away. And really our time, once we start getting to 35, 45 years old, a lot of people realize that your time is a heck of a lot more valuable than some of the things we're doing with our money. And if we could go back 20 years ago, we would have invested a lot more so we could retire early and enjoy our life. So we're not working it away our entire life. People try to jump into stuff way too fast, and we need to delayed gratification, right? This instant pump and dump stuff isn't how it works. So yeah, some of us may have got started late, but it still takes time. And I'd rather have you guys get there, maybe at 55 to 65 versus, 75 to 85, as opposed to losing it all and then you're just SOL. Crypto Roger said, I used to LOL at people who owned XRP, and now I'm in the 0.04 percentile. I realize the banker's coin is the way to go. My pennies to their dollars. Yeah, I mean, there you go. Exactly. So it's one of those things, once you get in early, you have to make that decision as more and more information comes about. So we have gone all the way through the chat. I'm going to hop into the recap for everyone. If someone could let me know how many people are in the stream, keep the chat going. I'm going to come back to it, and we'll have a hangout as long as the chat is active. But for now, I'm just going to hop into a recap for anyone who came in late, and then I will get right back into the chat with you all. So keep it going. We've gone through it once. So let's go ahead and do the recap. Price has gone up while we're talking, almost to $1.88. It's at $1.87.9. That's always a good thing. Again, we're talking, we are above EMA 9. We are on a positive uptrend. We did have a higher high as we came through here with this most recent upward spike up to $1.91.5, but we were not able to claim the $1.92 resistance level. So for this trend to continue, we're going to have to see it go higher than $1.92. If it bounces off of that again and comes back down, it's going to fall, and we'll probably come down and set a new lower low, probably test around this 183 level to 182 level again. again, sideways chop. It's just what it looks like, guys. That's how it goes, unfortunately. Again, entire crypto market down for the year. Lots of buying opportunities. Ondo's another good one that I like. HBAR, and again, none of this is financial advice. HBAR is down 60%. Ondo is down 72%. Chainlink's down 40%. Algo 65%. There are lots of opportunities. Do your research though. We went over all of the ETF holdings, right? We had additional 5 million locked up into ETF trusts today as we cover them every single day. We again talked about what is building on the XRP ledger with the account set transactions spiking over the last 2 months. That lines up with utility coming online on the XRP ledger, the things we've been discussing with Japan. We brought up that XRP ledger has now reached $567 million worth of tokenized real world assets on the XRP ledger, a 2,200% growth in 2025. And this just is starting. Okay. Tokenization is just starting. DTCC finally just got permission to tokenize the entire stock market. That's not going to happen overnight. That's going to take some time. Don't forget, they have their deal with BlackRock and Biddle for all, for RLUSD. RLUSD has been killing it. Okay. Again, we're going to have to see more things come on chain so they can swap, right? That's what XRP is for. It's a bridge. So we're going to need clarity to define it as a bridge asset. And we're going to need more things on Ledger so they have a reason to swap things, right? So we can utilize XRP for what it's supposed to be used for. But RLUSD launched, and I want to say it was November of 2024, and since then has crossed now $1.3 billion in market cap. So in 1 year, RLUSD is now a top 5 stablecoin, and they're in the top 50 in market cap for all crypto. And this went on to say banks prefer stability. That we discussed that this was the misunderstanding that happens a lot in when people are discussing XRP. They're saying banks prefer stability. This is because volatility creates risk during settlement. Well, settlement takes 3 to 5 seconds. You're not going to have a 2% swing on a $100 million transfer for a $2 million charge in 3 to 5 seconds. But the concept that it can move is what they are fearful. Again, stability comes from liquidity. And this, once people get clarity and they get more and more used to crypto and away from dollars and they start using stable coins, it'll be, again, takes time, needs clarity. None of this happened with RLUSD until we got the Genius Act. That's when banks started leaning in. Brad Garlinghouse said that himself when he was meeting with all of these banks, that no one would really lean in to RLUSD or stable coins until the Genius Act came through. It's going to be the same thing with the Clarity Act. This kind of growth that we've seen with stable coins after the Genius Act, I think we'll see similar growth with cryptocurrency as a whole once we have clarity and have the Clarity Act and they define the purposes and utilities of these utility tokens. Again, my opinion, not financial advice. So let's go ahead and hop back into the chat. Couple more questions. I think that was the end though. It's a slower stream today, but that's all right. Yeshua asked me, said, hello, is utility the future? I do believe utility is the future. As soon as we get clarity, that will open up utility. We're seeing some utility on Ledger right now. And that's what everyone, and I think that's the misconception, is that utility is ramping up. Utility is exploding. 2,200% growth of real world assets on Ledger, right? Consistent payments happening on Ledger. Institutional demand buying up XRP from ETFs, right? All of this is great. And all of this is utility and institutional adoption, but it's not using XRP. XRP needs clarity in order to be used, all right? In order for it to be that liquidity bridge, it needs to have clarity and it needs to have a reason to. That means value needs to come onto the XRP ledger, things that it can pair with and transfer between, okay? Things like real world assets, RLUSD, real world asset, tokenized real estate, like stuff that's happening in Dubai, right? Japan's talking about tokenizing their entire economy on the XRP ledger. That would be massive. Okay. That means you could you could take RLUSD and swap it out for, Japanese stocks. or whatever, whatever, or a Japanese apartment complex. Like you could, like those kinds of things. That's the use case for XRP, and we need to have clarity, and we need to have more things on chain for that to happen, on top of staking options and things like that. So that's the future of XRP. I hope that answers your question, Yeshua. That's my vision of XRP and how it will work. Brad Dixon in the house said there were 27 people in here, and I have gone through the entire chat. I've gone through all the information twice for you guys. If anyone else has any other questions, speak now or forever hold your peace. I'm going to start winding down. I'll try and answer any question as I'm about to get out of here. But again, I am of the vein of the debasement trade. Okay, so I believe in deflationary assets like gold, silver, platinum, formerly Bitcoin. I've gotten out of Bitcoin, XRP, and then also cash flow assets, things that are going to make me money, like real estate and things like that. So because cash depreciates as fast as you get it in, it seems like anymore these days. So you need to bring in the cash, right? You need money to live. So you have to bring in the cash, and then everything else should go to making you money or protecting your money. My opinion, not financial advice, but that's kind of how my vision is for wealth growth, essentially, especially in today's world. You need things that are going to appreciate in value, and cash is not that. And there's only so much land available. There's only so much XRP available. There's only so much gold available in the world. These are limited resources, right? You can't go make more of it. That's why you see a lot of like the bigger billionaire stuff buying large amounts of farmland. It's number one, they're getting the land, but number two, they're getting the water rights, right? Water is going to be a hot commodity, 50 years from now, 100 years from now. That's how these people think. Okay. So they go buy a large chunk of something in Wyoming, and everyone's like, what does that mean? Yeah, now they hold the water rights for everything that flows down that river into other states. Think about it, guys. They can adjust those water rights, right? They can change the flow of a river if they want to. It's crazy stuff they can do. You have to look out. I wish I had billions of dollars, man. They are so maniacal. I can see it. I just can't do anything about it. Race fan says, if I'm not mistaken, isn't RLUSD the only NYDFS compliant stablecoin? Yes, it is. RLUSD is backed by BNY Mellon. It is the creme de la creme of what's the word I'm looking for? Not recognized, not integrated, but it's the creme de la creme of security as far as stable coins and their backing, right? They are backed by BNY Mellon. Everything is custodied there. Let's see here. So you are correct on that, race fan. Pure BC said, hey, happy to see you. Hey, you made it. Well, welcome, Pure BC. And for those of you who don't know, Pure BC is pure bullcrap. Bill Crawford said, wishing everyone a happy and safe new year. Appreciate you, Bill. And Pure BC said, I'll listen it when available. Don't want to repeat your questions. All right, no worries, Pure BC. Yeshua, why is some people afraid of the Clarity Act? So a lot of people are afraid of the Clarity Act because they're worried about so in the Clarity Act, they can determine that a certain entity cannot hold more than a certain percentage of an asset, or it deems it a security. So for instance, Ripple holds roughly 40 billion XRP. Well, they hold more than 20% of the circulating supply. So some people are concerned that if the Clarity Act comes through and they have to reduce their holdings to say, 15%, then that means they're going to have to offload 35 billion XR or 25 billion XRP or whatever it is. I don't think it's going to go down that way, and that doesn't mean that 25 billion is just going to be injected into the circulating supply. They're not going to destroy the ecosystem that way. But I do believe that Ripple has enough partners, institutions, not to mention their own treasury company that they could stash XRP in as well. There might be a period of time where they have to sell it, but that's why people are afraid that there could be a potential situation where 25 billion XRP comes flooding back onto the market that Ripple's forced to sell because of the Clarity Act. Does that make sense? But also with the Clarity Act, there's also a potential DAT reclassification on January 15th. That means if that DAT reclassification, if DAT companies hold more than a certain percent of their holdings are made up of an asset like Bitcoin, for instance, then they would have to be reclassified as a security and not as a DAT company, because the price is determined way too much on the impact of the underlying asset. And if that were to happen, that would cripple the Bitcoin DAT treasuries, which there are a ton of them now, and would cause a lot of selling and the price go down. And if Bitcoin goes down, then everything else in the crypto market's going to go down. So there's lots of things that can happen in January that would be very bad, not just very good. Everyone should be aware of that. Now, if that does happen with a DAT reclassification or something along those lines, yes, XRP's price will follow Bitcoin originally and initially, but I think that would open up a potential decoupling situation for XRP if they get a different clarity situation when utility turns on while Bitcoin's going down. Then we could see some strange things happen. That's why I really think January is going to have a lot of insight as to what's going to happen over the next 1 to 5 years. Truthfully, there's going to be a lot of information coming down in January. And it's actually really, really exciting. I'm looking forward to it. It should be a busy time for me with you guys, right? But that is everything. So, but I've gone through wait, no, there's more questions. Hang on here. Race fan said, and banks don't like the Clarity Act because they don't want to lose out to companies like Uphold who pay interest for people holding stable coins. Well, the banks are going to do that too, and that's where DeFi is going to come. Banks are going to have to adapt to that, because now that we have DeFi, if people being able to do that with their stable coins and things like that, once the people are able to start doing that with their crypto and deploying their crypto to make money too, no one's going to want to hold their money in banks. So we might see a lot more of like this micro neo banking thing pop up, right? Kind of like not brick and mortar, but internet banking companies that help you deploy your stuff on DeFi. I can see that coming down in the future too. Actually, it's something that I should probably start looking into, because the number one question I get all the time is, how do I make money off of my crypto? So being able to do that for people, that's why I said I think one-click DeFi is going to be another part too. I'm really excited for that. I hope we get one-click DeFi next year, meaning that you can go into your wallet, you have my XRP, I click my XRP, and I'm like, oh, I want to put that here. I want to make 6% on that. And you just click it and it's done. Right now, it's too complicated for most people on how to get their XRP or other assets into an actual staking system where they're making money. Once it's one click and easy, then a lot more people will be willing to do it. Pure BC said, will XRP go up soon? Define soon. I would like to say yes. I think it's going to start going up at the beginning of the year, but I could be wrong. And again, prices for context. We're here for a year from now to 10 years from now. I mean, if price starts going up beginning of next year, that would be great. Based on the math model, right? Do I still have that? Yeah. Based on our math model, we do, I believe we're going to see a 20 to 80% increase between the end of January, beginning of February. That's what the math is telling me based on what's being taken off of supply by the ETFs. Again, this is just math and supply. So that's where I'm getting, excuse me, I'm losing my voice or something, but that's where I'm getting that theory from. Raul said he loves the live chats. You know what? It's my favorite time of the streams as well. I love coming in here and chatting with you guys. Honestly, I've mentioned it in a couple streams. I'm trying to find someone who's on YouTube that has similar thoughts, but maybe not the same, or even opposite thoughts, that would like to collaborate to where we can hold a conversation, because I think the back and forth makes for some really great videos, right? Just having a lot of people just want to have a conversation about crypto and their thoughts in crypto. And I'm trying to bring that element to you guys. You guys have great thoughts. I'm just a guy, just like, I'm just some dude on the internet, just like you all. You all have great thoughts and opinions as well. So I like to hear them. Race fan says Ally Bank. Okay. Not sure what you mean by that. Pure BC said, thanks for your time. Ally, no brick and mortar. Oh, yeah. So, yeah, Ally Bank, no brick and mortar. Yeah. So, they're not, that's a neobank, right? USAA is a neobank. It's a bigger one, but it's a neobank because it's only online. Like Chime, stuff like that. Now, there's a difference between a neobank and an online only bank. Like a neobank, they actually don't have any permissions. They just operate a company under the affiliate of another bank, if that makes any kind of sense. So I think we might see more of those pop up for DeFi purposes to help people deploy their DeFi. Like, we're going to take a percent, but we'll deploy it for you and make you 6%. And a lot of people will pay that because they just don't want to deal with it. My opinion, not financial advice, but I do think that would come up. Yeshua said, thanks for answering my questions. Have a safe and happy new year, everyone. Happy new year to you as well, Yeshua. Happy new year. And Todd Messon says, what is your X handle? Yeah, if you guys want to follow me on X, you can. I'll pull it up here for you. It is Longview Crypto. Pull up the screen view here. But it is Longview Crypto. There it is. And this is my emblem there, LVC. That's me. I don't have it. Whatchamacallit, certified yet. I haven't done that. But you can follow me on X. I retweet pretty much everything I see that I find interesting. I follow a lot of the same people. You can see Zach Rector's up here too. So you can see all kinds of things on X, and you'll see it before I talk about it on the stream. So if you want kind of an inside track, you can follow me on X at Longview Crypto. But while I'm on here, Stephen Haynes still in the stream. Stephen, you still here? I'll check out that. Was it you who was talking about BG123 earlier? I can check it out now. Everyone else is done. I'm just going to hang out with you guys while I figure this out. I've gone through the information twice. I've gone through the chat twice. So now I'm just hanging out with whoever wants to stay. But I did tell Steven I would look up this BG123 on X and do the riddle with them. I think it was Stephen Haynes. Let me see. BG12. I have to find it in this thing here. BG123. Where are you? BG123. I haven't now I can't find it. I thought it was Stephen Haynes that said it. Take it easy, race fan. I'll see you later. I thought it was BG123 who did the XRP riddles. Let's see. I think he may have left. Why is it not? Oh, I just did Oh, why did I do that? I didn't want to do that. See, this shows you how little I use X. I was trying to search for BG123 and posted BG123. Tell you the truth, I had it before I started this channel. I hadn't used it since it was Twitter back in, I want to say it was like 2015. Is it this NFT collection? This Art Juno thing? I don't think this is it. This can't be it. Oh, well, I'll try to find it later. No one else is talking in the chat, so it seems like it's dying down right now. But in the meantime, I'll catch you guys tomorrow. Wait, what is today? Yeah, it's not Friday. I'll catch you guys tomorrow at noon, all right? Later.